Welcome back. Although political forecasters see the Republican Party as the favorite to win next year's Texas Senate race, a new analysis has shifted the contest ever so slightly in the Democrats' favor. Could this inspire former Texas Congressman and presidential candidate Beto O'Rourke to announce a second Senate bid? We discussed that and much more just a bit earlier today. Let's talk about your future. Are you going to run for the Senate next year?
I don't know. The question I'm trying to answer is how can I be as useful and helpful as I possibly can at this moment? Country clearly has never been through anything like this. The center of the trouble that we face in America, we really find in Texas, where, as you know, today the governor has commenced a special session where they're planning to redraw up to 5 congressional districts to help the president maintain his purchase on power in the House of Representatives. I'm holding town hall meetings. I'm registering people to vote. I'm traveling outside of Texas to preach the gospel of Texas and try to build support and reserves for the fight that we have back home. And if that resolves in a candidacy, if it means that I continue to work as a private citizen and a volunteer, if it's something else, it really doesn't matter to me. But for me, like so many Americans, my kids, they're my conscience. And they're going to ask me at some point, hey, when all this was breaking down in America, what did you do? And I want to be able to say I did everything I possibly could. And so that's my North Star right now, and it has brought me here to you today.
With all respect, that does sound in certain ways to be a cautiously political answer to a direct question.
Yeah.
How are you weighing whether or not to do this? Because it's not just a decision for you. Mm-hmm. It's a decision that has implications for those who've already announced for this race and for those who are trying to figure out whether they should wait for you. So
right. Yeah.
Can you offer me some clarity?
Sure, I will. And I think
or maybe a timeline or somehow, how are you going to weigh this?
Yeah, so the answer is honest, I don't know. The criteria that I'm thinking through are a result of my experience running for statewide office. You know, in 2018, we got within 2.5% of Ted Cruz. It was transformational for the state of Texas. It was amazing, but at the end of the day, we didn't win. And I'm convinced that if I had been joined with other powerful, strong candidates for governor, attorney general, lieutenant governor, one of us, maybe all of us, would have punched through in 2018, and we would be living in a different America now. So, you know, could I win the Democratic primary for Senate in Texas? I think I could. Is that the right thing to do if I don't also have a team of powerful candidates who can complement one another, be mutually supportive, and make sure that we actually win? Because this is not going to be graded on effort. This will really decide the balance of power in America. So for all the reasons you just gave, I'm really making sure that I make this about the people of Texas and the people of this country, not about what I feel or want to do or what might be good for my political career, but what's really going to help. So traveling and listening to people is always the best way for me to think through an issue. You can get lost in your own head, but if you're out in Abilene or Fort Worth or Tyler, Texas, and you're with the people that you actually want to serve, they'll tell you what's most important to them, and they'll tell you what they're looking for in a leader. And then I can reflect on that and think about what it's going to take to actually bring it to pass, either again as a candidate or someone who's supporting candidates.
Beto, what happened to you in 2018, was that a false positive for Texas Democrats? Meaning it was closer, it looked closer than it actually was because your subsequent statewide efforts did not come close to what happened in 2018? The 2024 election was a much bigger blowout than 2020 or 2016. There is a narrative that Democrats keep white whaling themselves into believing they're going to get something out of Texas that ain't going to be got.
It was actually closer than it looked, and I'll explain. You know, not only did I win more Democratic votes than any predecessor, the first Democrat since '64 with LBJ to win the 5 major urban areas and their surrounding counties, below ballot, 12 insurgent Democrats defeated 12 incumbent Republicans for the state house. Colin Allred defeated Pete Sessions, entrenched incumbent member of Congress. We saw Lizzie Panel Fletcher do it in the South. And then in Houston, Texas, 17 black women won election to judicial positions. Major, it was so transformative that when the legislature met in 2019 and then again in 2021, they changed the voting laws to make Texas, bar none, the toughest state in the nation in which to register to vote and in which to cast a ballot. And those voter restrictions are targeted at those who are most likely to vote for Democrats. It doesn't explain everything. And so I don't want to tell you that that's the only reason that Democrats have not been winning in the state of Texas, but it is a big part of the answer. And it's why I'm so focused and have been for the last 6 years on registering the Texans that we need to win, and then helping those newly registered Texans navigate the most Byzantine set of election laws anywhere in America, certainly since Jim Crow and the Voting Rights Act in 1965. So Texas is very much there. The extremism that you see, the abortion ban, leading the nation in gun violence, 3 years after Uvalde, nothing's changed to make it less likely that any other child meet the same fate as those 19 kids. That's not what most of us in the state want. But when you have more than 9 million registered Texans not casting a ballot in the gubernatorial election, so many millions sitting it out in 2024, I think that reflects not so much that we're a red state, but a non-voting state. The task for me and anybody working on this is how do we get people to vote?
You said recently that Texas Democrats need to be ruthless, or maybe Democrats nationwide need to be ruthless on this question of redistricting. What did you mean by that?
I think far too often Democrats are more interested in being right than they are in being in power. And what I've seen of today's modern Republicans under Donald Trump is they care more about being in power than anything else, including being right or ethical or moral or working within the law. I'm not encouraging Democrats to break the law, but redistricting, as an example, let's match fire with fire. In California, Governor Newsom arguably has the power to help redraw districts in that state to Democratic advantage. Now, I know no one likes members of Congress choosing their own voters, myself included, but we don't have a chance to change that until we actually win power. And if we're coloring in the lines while the Republicans are tearing up the coloring book right in front of us, we're going to continue to lose power and be less relevant to the Americans that we want to support and help. And look, this may sound hyperbolic to some of your viewers and listeners, and maybe even to you, but Trump has promised that he is going to pursue a third term. He told us before he was elected he would be a dictator on day one. He joked, or maybe he didn't joke, that you vote in this election in 2024, you'll never have to vote again. If we do not win a majority in the House of Representatives, we will have lost our best check on tyranny, on fascism and authoritarianism in the United States of America. That is my core belief. And we will have some answering to do if we fail at this moment of truth. Our kids or grandkids are going to be wondering, why didn't you step up and save this country when you had the chance? So not everything is going to appeal to everyone, but we must do everything we can with what we have right now, or we're going to lose the republic.
Is America a tyrannical country now?
It is descending into it as quickly as anyone has seen, anyone in living memory. We've never seen a crisis of constitution, rule of law, or government of the people, by the people, for the people, since perhaps the attacks that preceded the Civil War and the loss of more than 300,000 Union dead to preserve this country as a free nation and to end slavery and defeat the Confederacy. I sure as hell hope that this does not descend into further violence and armed conflict. I want us to resolve this democratically, peacefully, and nonviolently. But within those parameters, let us do everything that we can, because if we fail to do that, the other side is going to consolidate this power, and it might very well spell the end of this noble experiment.
You can watch my full interview. It runs 40 minutes or so with Beto O'Rourke on our Takeout YouTube page. You can also listen to it on our podcast feed.